Hello, welcome everyone. Very excited to kick off our webinar today. I'm really looking forward to covering our topic. My name is Steele. I'm a customer advocate here at Qordoba, and I'm joined by my colleague Zane Ravenholt.
Hey guys.
Who is our lead solutions architect, who's going to take us through how Qordoba customers are using Qordoba to manage their strings in GitHub. Before we get started, I want to make sure everyone knows that they are all on mute, but you are all welcome to submit questions using the Q&A tab on Zoom. You can also use the chat tab if you'd like to comment or send a message to Zane or I. We'll answer your questions at a couple different points during the webinar, so feel free to submit them at any time. A quick review of our agenda this morning. We'll have a brief introduction, then I'll talk a little bit about some of our customers at Qordoba. Then I'm going to hand things over to Zane, who's going to discuss setting up continuous localization. He will run a live demo. We'll touch a bit on use cases, and then we'll have an interactive Q&A at the end. So quickly, before we dive in, a brief look at Qordoba's string intelligence platform. We help product teams do three things here at Qordoba. The first thing we do is to enable PMs to create strings for their apps within Qordoba, saving lots of time and providing them with a single source of truth for all strings across their applications. Another thing we do is add intelligence to these strings via our content scoring features, which allow product teams to assess the effectiveness of their strings. Lastly, and very most importantly, because it's the topic of our webinar today, the Qordoba Strings Intelligence Platform allows product teams to scale the content inside their apps for new personas, like new languages or specific user segments. One of the integrations is via GitHub, which we're going to walk you through today. And a little bit about our customers. Our customers are some of the most innovative product and engineering teams in the world. We're very proud to work with these companies, and they're using Qordoba as a single source of truth for the strings and words inside of their applications. We can cover use cases in Q&A if there are any questions. And before I hand things over to Zane, just a little bit about how our platform is enterprise ready. We are full SOC 2 compliant, which makes it possible for us to be in mission critical production systems at places like Visa and Marriott, and is also something that we can dig into during the Q&A session. All right, without further ado, I will hand it off to Zane to talk today about scaling your content using Qordoba with GitHub.
Great, thank you very much, Steele. As he mentioned, I'm going to be talking about our GitHub integration today. First, I'm going to give you an overview of how the GitHub integration works, and then I'm going to give you a live demo so you guys can see it working in action. So I'm going to, Okay, I'm going to do an overview first. The first thing that needs to occur is you create a protected branch within GitHub. This step gets done when you create a project within Qordoba, and the project is where all of your strings will be housed for translation. Once you've identified a repository and a branch that you want to have protected, you treat it like any regular GitHub repository. You can add your commits, do your features that you want to change, and when you do a pull request to the protected branch, oftentimes this is master, it can also be staging or dev, whatever branch you want. When you create a pull request to your protected branch, this is where Qordoba comes into play. When you create a project in Qordoba, we will add a webhook to your GitHub repository, and this webhook will be added as a status check that will check to see if there are any strings that need to be translated or are missing translations of it, in your code base. If it identifies any strings that need to be translated, it will create an additional branch within GitHub called your localization branch, and any changes that occur within Qordoba will be added to this branch. Now, when you create the pull request to your master branch, any strings that need to be translated will be extracted from your code and pulled into Qordoba. Once the strings are in Qordoba, there are a number of different ways you can translate them. We provide machine translation that you can review. We also allow you to do any internal reviewers that you have already at your company, or if you have a third-party linguist that you want to do the translations with, those can all work together. Once the content is finished in Qordoba, there will be an automatic pull request sent from the Qordoba's localization branch back to your feature branch with all of the localized strings that will get added to your feature branch. When these strings are added, the original pull request you made to the protected branch will no longer be blocked, and you are able to merge it and carry on writing your beautiful application. Excellent. Now we're going to go and do a live demo. Here I am in my GitHub repository from a application that I have built. And you can see here I also have Qordoba open. This is our Qordoba application, and you will see content here in just a second. Going back to GitHub and looking at the settings in our webhooks, you can see that there's a webhook that's been added by Qordoba here. If I go back to the master branch, I'm going to go to my feature branch that I've been working on, localization demo. In this branch, I have added a JSON file, and let's take a quick look at it. This is where I house all of my tokenized strings that I want to have translated for my application. And you can see, taking a quick look at this, we have numbers, we have variables, we have new line characters, we have nested objects and arrays in this file. So if we go back, I'm going to take this file and create a pull request to my protected branch, which is master. Excellent. Able to merge, create the pull request. You can see here that the status check says all checks have failed. Qordoba missing strings are now in progress at app.qordoba.com. If I go to Qordoba, you can see that there's now a branch here. This is the localization branch that was replicated off of your feature branch. And if we look in here, you can see that we have the English draft.json. Now, as far as file types go, we support JSON, we support YAML, any file type that you have your content in, we can support. And if we don't offer immediate support for it, we can always write regex to parse your strings out and extract them. Now, I've gone into the file, and you can see here we have our English source content on the left-hand side and our suggested translated content on the right-hand side. You see we have these variables. It's very easy for linguists to come in and move the variables around and make any edits that they need to do to the string. And when they like the work that they see, they can select all and they can complete it. Excellent. Going back to the content root, you can see that the English draft is now completed. And now it says pending where it used to say open. This means that Qordoba has sent a pull request from our localization branch back to your feature branch. Going back to GitHub, if we look at our pull requests, you can see that the localized strings for Germany for create the English draft JSON is now available. And if we look at the localized strings commit, you can see it's the same JSON that we had with the keys, except German has replaced the English content. Going into this, going to merge this to your feature branch. Excellent. And if we go to the feature branch, you can see that all checks have passed. So I'm going to merge the feature branch where I've been doing all my work back to my protected branch, which is master. Excellent. And if I go back to the master overall, you can see now we have the English draft JSON, and we also have the German JSON on the master branch available and ready. Now, a couple of use cases that this is useful for. One, perhaps you just want to have a single language translated. You can very easily upload your strings to Qordoba, and we will receive that, get the translations through, and you will have translated content for a single language. Another option is to treat Qordoba as a true string management platform, where the first thing you upload is just the English draft, as I have it labeled here, and English, official English, is actually another target language that you have, so Qordoba acts as an entire strings management platform. Looking into Qordoba a little more, there's a bunch of different features that we offer. Reporting based on the different files that were completed. You can see for Germany, all the files are completed, the number of words, the number of segments, where they sit in your workflow within Qordoba. In workflows themselves, you can have multiple workflow steps, one for content translation, one for in-house review, one for in-country review. You can set this up however you want. You also have team members that can be on a per workflow basis. So if you hire some linguists, you can add them only to the translation steps. We also have things like automations that allow you to auto-push content that you've already seen before. If you look at this, you can see that if all these rules apply, if the translation memory has the content that you've translated in the past, you can go ahead and automatically complete those strings in Qordoba without any human interaction whatsoever. Now we're getting beyond the scope of today's demo, but if you guys would like, we would be more than happy to reach out and give us your contact information. We can give you a personalized demo. What we're going to do now is open up the floor for discussion. You guys can ask any questions. We will be here until there are no more questions to be answered.
Looks like we have a few questions here in the chat. We'll be reading through them and answer them. So looks like the first one here is, do all PRs targeted to the master translate it, or can it be selective?
Yes, you can. If this is per language, yes, you can select per language and do individual pull requests from any given language in Qordoba. So you can complete them one at a time or all at once. You can do that however you want. Great. And then looks like Ben asked, also, does Qordoba support Xamarin forms and strings, res files, formats? Yes, we support a wide range of file formats, JSON, YAML, the ones that you suggested. And even if we don't have a hard-coded one, we can always set up a regex parser in order to extract the strings from your guys' file. So pretty much no matter what your file type, we'll be able to get the strings out of it.
Looks like another question has just come in here. Is Qordoba reading my code?
Yeah, so Qordoba, when you set up the project, there is an ability to whitelist and blacklist the files that you want Qordoba to look at. You can set it up either way. You can blacklist individual files that you do not want to have looked at, or you can whitelist only one file that you want Qordoba to read. We are very aware that we're in your repository, and so we only want to look at the exact code that we need to extract the strings from.
Looks like another question here from someone that uses Slack for a lot of their internal notifications. Does Qordoba have a Slack integration?
Yes, we do. We have a special webhook integration with Slack, and we can set up any information that you need to get from Qordoba. We can send it to Slack or through email or other channels as you need.
And looks like one here from the chat. Are translations always run by linguists, or can translation preferences glossary be set up?
Yes, so translations, yeah, let me read the question. Translation preferences can definitely be set up. If you already have translated content, you can upload that content to Qordoba and add it to your growing translation memory. Another thing about translation memories is that anytime Qordoba sees a previously translated string that you've already sent us, you can automatically push that through all the workflow steps that you have and complete it without any human interaction. And so the translations that we have with our machine translations are one option, but you can also use linguists to review, or if you prefer to have only linguists to review and no machine translation available, that is another option we can do for you.
And it looks like another one here, someone asks, am I able to use my own translators? Yes, you are able to use your own translators in the platform. Looks like another question. Can I skip a PR not to be submitted for translation?
Yes, I believe that you can choose branches to ignore or specific users to ignore in GitHub. So if you are a user that you don't want to ever have stuff sent to Qordoba, you can blacklist yourself. Or if you have a branch you want to do changes on, you can blacklist that branch and Qordoba will never extract from that branch.
So another question here, what measures are used to secure files at Qordoba?
We are SOC 2 compliant, so we've gone through a lot of security measures to make sure that your content is saved. We also use Google Cloud services, so all of the content that is stored is backed behind Google's security guarantee.
Great. Looks like one more here regarding integrations. Does Qordoba have a Jira integration?
Yes, it does. We have a webhook set up for Jira that can be created to push event info to Jira.
Looks like another one here, someone that joined here a little bit later. Is it possible to provide screenshots or other context for the strings so that the translators have more understanding around the meaning of the string?
Yeah, I'm actually going to go into our platform to show this one. You also have the ability to filter and show only the things that you want to see in our content route. Now, if you want to add context to a statement or something, we have a whole comments section that you can add comments to, and you can tag individual people. So at Steele, let me select him, there we go. Oops. I want this translated ASAP, right? And Steele will get a notification for whatever you want to convey to him.
You can also drag and drop up screenshots in that as well. So if you have a screenshot of your application in context, you can simply drag and drop that in the chat here. Looks like another one here. Can I see the keys?
Yes, you can. Show keys. Boom. You can see right here, you have the keys attached to the individual strings, segments that they're attached to.
Someone else would like to see any reporting that we have?
So this project is very small, but we have reporting here. You can see individual files that we have for Germany. If you had multiple languages, they'd appear here. But also, from an organization level, we have a bunch of different reporting. We have translation velocity. So you can see this is from a different demo. We're on sales demo right now. Let's see here, progress reports for individual projects, right? So you can select the different projects you want to look at. And then translation leverage, again, from other previous tests. Yeah, so we have a very expansive reporting. As for translation memory, we have a bunch of different translation memories. You can see that we can store any amount of segments in them, and they can be leveraged to help you guys. Okay. Next question.
Someone asked here about what is the turnaround time for linguists?
Yeah, so you can actually set this up with linguists. The turnaround time, you can do whatever you want. So on your workflow steps, we only have one in this example, but you could have first milestone that's for machine translation, and a second one for linguist review, and a third one for product management review. Within these workflow steps, you can set deadlines. So you can say, hey, I need this done by Friday, right? Workflow's been updated. The linguists that are working in this individual workflow step will get notified that there's a deadline for March 30th, and they'll also get more notifications when the deadline is approaching.
Someone else asked, what data is sent to third-party translators? How is that data extracted and transmitted?
Great, so Qordoba is actually the platform that third-party translators will use to complete the translation process. So if you guys upload something from GitHub, we will actually work with the third party that you guys want to use as translators, and we will give them training on Qordoba's platform, make sure they understand how to use it, and they can use all the extra gadgets we provide for them.
Another one with this is related to content. Do you have search and replace?
We do. We have an advanced search and search and replace. So you can go in and find Sprung, right? And you can replace it with hello, replace all. Excellent. And you can see Sprung was replaced right here.
Another one in regards to pricing. Pricing is based on the number of words, languages, and integration type. So it varies a lot. If you have any specific questions, I'll leave my email here at the end. It's just Steele, S-T-E-H-L @Qordoba.com. And I can also follow up with you directly, but happy to have a conversation around that. It is not currently on the website. Great. Can Qordoba work with Easy Dita, D-I-T-A? I'll follow up with you on that one. I'm not sure here on the top of my head, but I'll make sure I get a follow-up email sent to you. Another question related to translators. When working with third-party translators, does Qordoba create in-house translation memory from the resulting work of the translators?
Yes, we do. We create an in-house translation memory that you can continue to grow and add with. And if you already have a translation memory, we can extract it into Qordoba and grow that one And you can always extract the translation memory from Qordoba if you ever need it in a separate file.
And another question regarding a few systems I support there. I will also follow up with you directly. Just need to confirm on my end. Another question related to file formats. What kind of file formats do we support?
Yeah, I think someone asked this, or a similar question to this earlier. We support pretty much every file format. We have a wide list of already supported things, and even if you have a very obscure or unique file type, we can create a regex parser that will go through and extract the strings from that file.
Another one related to, he says, can updates be made to the content post-process and not block the pull request? And
sorry, can you say that again?
Yeah, can updates be made to the content post-process and not block the pull request?
Yeah, you can configure it to go through and not block the pull request, and you can custom configure this for various use cases.
Another one related to security here, as we mentioned, we are SOC 2 Type 2 compliant, and feel free to reach out if you have any specific questions around that.
So we got some more in the chat.
Oh, a few more here. Where can I find the files list? I'll post that in the chat here. It's on our developer website and it has all of our different file formats there. We also have a regex engine for any kind of custom file format. Can you walk through the process of onboarding a new account on your system? Yeah, I'll follow up with you directly for that. Just for a webinar now, we're going to stick to GitHub related, but can definitely set up a follow-up and send you a video as well. Great. Any more questions here from the audience?
Give you guys a few minutes to think of any more ones you have. We'll stand by. Looks like Steele just posted our dev website into the chat, and you guys feel free to look around it and explore it at your leisure.
Yeah, and there's more information there. That link is specific to the question related to file formats, but you can play around in the site. There's a lot more information. Great. Someone asked about workflow automation support.
Ah, yes. Now, in our workflow, there's another thing you can see, automations. Automations are basically automations that you can set up that will do actions if any given rules are applied. So for example, if you say the TM match for a given segment is greater or equal to 99%, you can add an action that says, great, I actually want to save that TM where the target segment is, and then I actually want to complete the file. So this means that anytime you see a string that Qordoba has seen before and is in your translation memory, and it's basically the same string, 99%, then you're going to save that TM and complete it, and all this gets done with no human interaction whatsoever. You don't have a linguist review it because the linguist has already reviewed it. It just gets pushed from the first workflow step to the very end. You can create it, auto push. You can create it, and then in workflow steps, you can add different automations however you need to. And you can have automations push content from one to the second. You can have automations skip a workflow step. You can have automations complete things entirely. There's a bunch of different things you can do with automations that make your life and linguist lives easier.
Looks like one more question came in regards to the GitHub integration. What does the status check look for?
The status check looks at the pull request and looks for diffs in the specific files that it's looking at. So it'll look, in the case of my English draft.json, I was specifically just looking for English draft.json in my whitelist, and so it compared the master branch I was merging with my feature branch, and it saw that there was no translations for the English draft in the master, so that is why it triggered.
Great. I don't see any more questions right now. We still have a few minutes here if anyone else would like to ask a question. Someone asked about GitHub settings.
Yeah. In our settings,
specifically GitHub, you can see it gives you the information that you need for GitHub. The repository URL I was using is mine, and then a application that I've made. Protected branch is master. You can set up pull request titles. So instead of it being that long string that you saw, instead of it being this long thing, you can set it up to be something different. And then this is how you can configure your status check. We have it set up to fail, so it actually forces all translations to be available so that when you merge, all of your localized sites have their content at the same time. You can also set it to pending or success, and that will just give a warning and still pull the strings into Qordoba, but can allow the pull request to go through. And here you can set up the branches to ignore the blacklist and the users to ignore. And you can change the resource file output. So if you want to name it a different type of file, for example, French.json, capital, save it in the same name, but in a different folder. So if you have strings.json, you want to have all of your translated files also be strings.json, you can have a folder that's fr-fr and then strings.json.
Great. Looks like that's all the questions we had, and looks like we're also at the end of our half hour here today. One more person asked about Bitbucket. Yeah, that's something that is on the roadmap currently. Great. So if you guys have any other questions, I will post my email in the chat, also hello@Qordoba.com, and we will get you routed to the right team. I know a few of you asked some specific questions. I will email you guys and follow up directly with some information that way. Thank you all for joining our webinar today. And that is what we had prepared. Zane?
Thanks for coming, guys. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. We love answering them, and we will be happy to hear from you in the future.